Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 18 of my show, which is also going to be about Episode 18. And Episode 18 in Season 2 of Futurama is known as The Problem with Poplars. Um, uh, But before I start talking about it, I just want to mention, since we're on episode 18, that means we got 2 more videos left of season 2. I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started. Anyway, basically, the way this episode first starts off is, the professor basically, sends Fry, Bender, and Leela on a delivery, and then after that delivery, they stop over on another planet. And while they're on that planet, what happens is they're looking around because they seem like it's uninhabited. And then after that, they find something that actually looks like food, so they start eating it, and then they decide to take it back to Earth with them. Now, the funny thing about that is because it's connected with another race in this series that actually got introduced in this same season. But anyway, I'm just wanted to get that part of it out of the way, and then when they return from the delivery, Hermes contacts them and tells them that they're clear to land, and then basically, Leela says over the microphone, Roger, basically, which is, she's telling them okay, and then they show up with the things that they got from the planet, and they start eating it, and they wonder what they should call them, and the Bender says that they taste good, so why don't they call them tasting good? But then Leela gets upset with that because they can't call them that because of something else that's called that. And then after Hermes mentions, after Hermes looks on the types of food that isn't that isn't really trademarked yet as poplars or zittlers. So basically, because of that, Fry basically says that they should call them poplars, and then they basically start selling them out, and then basically that's when Bender and Fry, while they're selling them, they get approached by the owner of a fast food restaurant in the series called Fishy Joe's, and then when Fry sees him on the billboard, he thinks that he's somebody who eats at Fishy Joe's, but Fishy Joe Gilman explains that he is Fishy Joe, and he's got a restaurant in every food chain, a restaurant in every planet in the known universe except for the planet McPluto. And then after that, Bender kind of gripes at him a little bit. And I'm sorry if I'm not rushing this. It's just, there's a lot of minor details, and the actual major details, like I said, don't happen until the segment that I mentioned before, where the Omicronians show up. A lot of this is just minor details, but it plays into the plot line of the story, basically. So that's why I'm just mentioning the minor details. Anyway, after they decide to allow Fishy Joe to sell poplars to the people at his food chain restaurant. Then Bender and Fry start singing this little jingle, and in a montage of things, what happens is when they go through the segment with the tube through, every one of the customers pays for their poplars and stuff, and then, but when Zoidberg comes up, he's like, I can't pay, because he tells them that he can't pay because he doesn't have any money. And then after that, what happens is in the next scene, what happens is, afterward, it goes back into the scene where basically Leela is in the Planet Express building with the others, and when she sees the poplars that are still uneaten, she tells the father she wishes that he'd throw out these week old poplars because they're getting big and scaly. Now, the reason why they're getting big isn't because they're getting mold or anything, it's because they're actually live creatures. Oh, but before I'm just gonna backtrack to that, because before that actually happened, there was this protesting group in this episode that showed up. Now this is the funny part. The protesters were all like vegetarians, but their organization is known as Mankind for Ethical Animal Treatment. So their organization's name is an acronym for the word meat, and they're vegetarians. I mean, I get the point that the point in this case, meat, is an acronym for their organization's name, but still, the fact that they're vegetarians and their organization is an acronym for the word meat, Mankind for Ethical Animal Treatment, I'm sorry, that's just hilarious. And then after that, after Leela tells them that animals eat animals, it's human nature, but the leader of Mankind for Ethical Animal Treatment that's doing the protest, a guy named Free Waterfall Jr., basically says that no, it's not, because they taught a lion to eat tofu, which in this case is bad because lions are meat-eating predators. So eating something like tofu is, I'm guessing it's not good for them. I'm just making that assumption because when they showed the scene with the lion, what happened was he was starved, like physically starved and stuff. Like he hadn't eaten any meat, so basically he was essentially dying. But anyway, that's when Leela mentions. Afterward, that's when Leela mentions to Fry about wishing he would throw away these week old poplars because they're getting big and scaly. And then and like I said, again, the reason why they're getting bigger is because they're actually growing and stuff. And then, one of the poplars accidentally calls Leela Mama after it opens its eyes, and then starts licking her fingers afterwards to get a taste of them out of the mouth. And then basically after that, she tries to get the others to stop eating them because they're intelligent, and then she tells them that they're intelligent, and that poplar told their mama basically, and then Bender says that poplars can't talk, and that he thinks that Leela must be hallucinating from not eating enough poplars. Oh my god, which is a redundant statement. I say it's redundant because, I'm sorry. It's just, oh my god. And then basically, that's when the professor decides to tell them that there's only one way. There's one way and only one way to examine if a creature is truly intelligent, and that's to basically dissect its brain. Its brain, and basically the puppet says, "No, Mama, stop going back." And then basically what happens is, after that, that's when they realize that it is intelligent, so they try to get people to stop eating poplars, and it does a little montage of them, not, which causes them to sort of discourage people from eating poplars, but it doesn't work out. And when it comes to Leela, she says that she tells them not stop eating poplars because they can talk, and then basically the guy in the poplar suit is telling them don't stop to talk and eat poplars, and then she tells him to cut it out, but then he says it as take a coupon and cut it out, and then after that he starts whacking him, and then the others try their own ways to discourage people from eating them, and then basically Leo goes on his talk show with Linda, that's also who's the host of the show, and along with Free Waterfall Jr., the leader of the organization Mankind for Ethical Animal Treatment, which, again, as I stated, is known as MEAT, which I find is kind of ironic. and the owner of the Fishy Joe's building, Fishy Joseph Gilman, and then basically she asked Fishy Joe if is it wrong to eat something that's intelligent, and he said no, and he thinks that no one's there to make that claim, and then basically Leela and Free Waterfall Jr. said that they both are, and then basically afterward, Leela then tells them that that she's not saying that eating animals is wrong, but she's not saying that eating animals is wrong, but eating an intelligent creature is. And she said that Palms are calling her mama, and then basically what happens is, when Leela mentioned about that, what happens was Free Waterfall Jr. mentioned that it is wrong to eat animals because, he's a vegetarian, so they don't eat meat, which means they eat only vegetables and different stuff, between alternatives to meat, like tofu and stuff. But anyway, afterward, Fishy Joe starts doing, and what happens is Free Waterfall Jr. starts rambling and telling him to shut up so he can talk, and then basically Fishy Joe starts eating them because he says if these things are so intelligent, why don't they fight back? And then Free Waterfall Jr. says he calls murder on that, and then basically Fishy Joe mentions that he's willing to admit that it's murder. The fact is, who's gonna stop him? And that's when the Omicronians show up and tell them that the creatures that they call poplars come from a nursery planet in their sector, because that's what Lur tells them. And then basically they demand justice. And then what happens after that is Zap Brannigan is in a meeting with the Omicronians, and then he starts off by saying that he shared the pain for what happened to the Omicronian young, but the funny thing is he starts eating them, and he's like, these would go great with guacamole. And then Lur gets angry with that. He's like, stop eating our young, and it's pronounced guacamole. And then Zap's like, all right, I'm putting him away, and he leans himself down so he can finish eating them without the Omicronians seeing them and stuff. And then they're wondering what their demands are, and then Lur says that they demand to basically eat one human for each Omicronian that was eaten. And then basically they're wondering how many humans that is, and then, well, Zap's wondering how many humans that is, and then Kip says that 198 billion humans, sir, and then basically Laura's like, very well, you will provide us with 198 billion humans and a small prize. But after he says the small prize part, Ninder gets upset with him. She's like, Laura, and then Laura's like, oh, all right, cottage cheese. And then Zap tells them that the thought occurred that there aren't that many humans, and Laura says that they're willing to wait a few weeks while they divvy up the numbers. And then that's when, instead of eating all the humans on Earth, they get a fair compromise, because in the next scene what happens is they, Zap says that they won't eat every human on Earth because of the fact that, and Laura says the reason why is because he filled up on nuts before the negotiation, so his belly was already full of food, so if he ate humans it would be too full and stuff. And instead of eating every human on Earth, they will only eat one human of their choosing, and Laura tells them that they choose to eat the first human who ate the first Omicronian, and the culprit is the one caught by their nanny cam satellite, which just happens to be Leela, and she said that, and he said that he must be sacrificed, but the rest of them will be spared. And then they all start cheering, but Leela starts booing that, and then in the next scene what happens is they basically televise her eating, her getting eaten by the Omicronians, and then basically Bender says that he's gonna miss Leela, and he says that she's just like titanium, and then basically Fry mentions about how good she is and all, and then that's when Bender mentions about the titanium thing again, and then Leela gets annoyed with them because she was the one trying to save the poplars. Fry was stuffing his face with them, and Bender was stepping on them for fun, and she said that they both should be in here instead of her, and then basically, oh my god, and then Bender's like, someone's acting awfully aluminum. And then basically after that what happens is they try to use a orangutan. Zap comes up with a plan to save Leela from being eaten by disguising an orangutan as Leela by having give the orangutan a makeover and an eye patch. And then basically when Leela sees that, she thinks that this just might work because the Omicronians tend to have a difficulty telling one human from another. And then Zap says that is true because at the negotiation they thought that Zap was something and Kip was something else. And he tells Kip, is he right? But then Kip's like, please, I am creating. And the funny thing is about this plan, it actually almost did work. The reason why I say almost is because of what happened before the orangutan was about to get eaten. As the orangutan was being put in the mouth. Oh my god. But I'll explain about that when I get to that part. Anyway. After that, Laura's saying that he wants to eat Leela, and then the waiter says that it comes with super salad, and then he says Laura says salad, and then the waiter says ranch or vinaigrette, and then Laura says vinaigrette. And then by this point, Laura's getting annoyed with the waiter because he says balsamic or raspberry. So instead of asking him about it, he just uses his laser gun to vaporize him. Oh my god! And then they bring the orangutan disguises Leela out for him to eat, and then Laura says that the creature does match the picture somewhat because of the hairy knuckles, and then Leela looks at her knuckles to make sure, and then basically Lurk puts a lot of salt on the orangutan that he thinks is Leela, and then Minna's like, "Would you like some human with your salt?" And then he's about to eat the orangutan, and then Linda is basically telling people that if the Omicronians fall for Zap's polite air will be saved, and then she mentions about the sponsor for the show, and like I said again, it almost works. I say almost because what happens is Free Waterfall Jr. stops them from eating it because he says that it's a trick and that it's not Leela, and then basically, Lur wonders what's happening because he's losing the anticipation in the crowd, and then basically, Free Waterfall Jr. mentions that it's an orangutan, one of Mother Earth's most precious creatures, and then Zap gets annoyed with Free Waterfall Jr. because he's like, "What's the matter with you, you smelly hippie? You'd sacrifice a perfectly attractive woman to save a moderately attractive monkey? You must have smoked some bad granola." Now, in hindsight, now that I think about it with this episode, I know in this episode Free Waterfall Jr. is a vegetarian activist, so he likes animals and doesn't eat meat, but still, if the orangutan getting eaten saves someone else from actually getting eaten, and he does something as selfless as saving it, then he's screwing the planet out of being saved. Like he's thinking saving the orangutan is more important than actually saving the Earth or saving an actual human life. So I kind of get why Zap would be annoyed with him and with that part. And then it was like, "The one called Smelly Hippie is right. This is a monkey." And then Lura gets annoyed with that, and he says that, "Where is the real female?" And then Zap says that he'll never tell, and then he says it again in more menacingly. He's like, "Where is the real female?" And then he says that he'll get her for him, and then basically, after he brings Leela out for her to eat, and as Lur puts Leela in his mouth, but then the little Omicronian starts running toward the stage and jumps in Leela's mouth, and then the little Omicronian tells them that his name is Jur of the planet Omicron Perseid, and he asks if someone could lower it so he could talk, and then Leela lowers it, and then he says that thank you, and then he says that if Leela gets eaten, he gets eaten, and then everyone gets shocked by that, and then Nina starts to scold the young Omicronian. She's like, "Little one, get out of there. I'm going to count to Blork." Now, I think Blork is the Omicronian equivalent of the number 3. Now, the reason why I say that in this episode is because of the way she says it, is because she's like, "Bringle, Jorg," and then she says what I think is 2.5, like she said, "Jorg and a bloob," and then basically, the Jur mentions that to hear him out because there are many reasons to eat: hunger, famine, wanting to be the world's fattest man, but not revenge. Are they any? If they do this, are they any different than them? And then he mentions that Leela is his friend, and Lur wonders if she said that's true, and then Leela weirdly, unintelligibly says that, and Lur lets her go, and then basically afterward what happens is Free Waterfall Jr. in the episode is basically trying to soothe everyone to calm them down kind of thing, and then Lur wonders if Free Waterfall Jr. is Jur's friend too, and he says no, so he eats him instead. Now, I think him eating And the hippie actually had an after effect because what happens is after he eats him is he starts acting like weirded out, like he's high or something, and then he says that his hands are huge and then they can touch anything but themselves. And oh wait, and the Omicronians leave, but before they leave, Leela mentions to Jer that she hopes that he will always think of her as his mom, and then he mentions that when their species goes up, they hate their moms, and then basically in the next scene, what happens is that the Planet Express crew is congratulating Lulu for teaching them that it's wrong to eat certain things, and then that's when Bender brings in this basically this cut up dolphin, and then Leela basically says that they can't eat dolphins because like poplars, dolphins are intelligent, but Bender says that the dolphin that's on the table is not intelligent because he blew on all his savings on internet stock. So because of that, they start eating the dolphin, and that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys probably sometime next time for the next video. But until then, like I always tell you with the series, fun on a bun.